I'm gonna click that little got it button. I'm gonna do it twice. Yep, Mr. Secor, you're good to go.
All right, thanks, Seth. Okay, welcome to the Scituate Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee meeting. It is Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022 at 6:31 p.m. Given Governor Baker's declaration of a public health emergency and the related emergency executive order dated March 12th, 2020 has been extended, was extended recently until March 31st, 2023. This meeting will be recorded by Scituate Community Television and can be viewed live on Scituate Community Television Facebook Live. The recorded meeting will be available the following day on Comcast Channel 9 and YouTube Scituate Community Television. I'm going to go ahead and read our commitment statement, then I will call the meeting to order. So our commitment statement, this is a safe, secure place for all people, especially people of color, and for all underrepresented people and communities. This is a space where people can bring up challenges and questions without fear. We will assume best intentions and we will treat one another with politeness and respect at all times. This committee is dedicated to these standards. We want our members and others joining our meetings to feel welcomed and respected. Okay, so with that, I would like to call the meeting to order. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Celia. Okay, I'll call the roll. Ms. Yassine.
Here.
Ms. Dre.
Yes.
Ms. Risha.
Yes.
Ms. Gulata.
Yes.
Ms. Swope.
Yes.
And I am a yes.
And we are currently missing Reverend Stewart, and I believe she said she was not going to be available this meeting.
That's correct. She's on a retreat up north somewhere. I should know. She told me, but yeah, New Hampshire or Maine is my guess. Yeah, so she is not going to make it. So let's first order of business. Let's go ahead and discuss the minutes, which I had somewhere.
Right there, the minutes of June 21st.
Yes, and I did make a couple, well, actually on the agenda, Ruth, I know I had a couple of typos with 2021 that kind of snuck in there. I think that's fixed.
But again, that's not part of the minutes, so.
Yeah, I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah.
I don't have any changes personally from my review. I don't know if anyone else has any commentary. Okay, then I will move to accept the minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Yassine.
Yes.
Ms. Dre.
Yes.
Ms. Risha.
Yes.
Ms. Gulata.
Yes.
Ms. Swope.
Yes.
And I am a yes. Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So in terms of liaison reports, I did get regrets from, excuse me, from Jamil, but he did alert me, and he did alert me to the fact that, why am I drawing a blank? Connor Doherty and the Beach Commission did get in front of, and Maura, you can probably jump in on this, did get in front of the select board on the 26th and had the Medco beach sticker proposal approved.
Correct. That was going to be my update. You stole my thunder.
I'm sorry, Maura. I'm sorry.
Yes, so unanimously approved. Very excited about that initiative, and I thank the Beach Commission for bringing that forward and for your support. It was great.
Okay, great. Any other updates from you, Maura? I know we're going to be leaning on you quite a bit when we get into the Indigenous Peoples Day discussion, which we'll get to in a few minutes.
Sure. Nothing really additional other than, real strict water restrictions right now. The meeting was really mostly about approving permits and entertainment and things that happen. Committee updates. So Angela, I think I heard that we're having some difficulty getting some folks to come forward for the Cape Verde committee. So I don't know if you need our help or, what we can do to get the applicant pool going. Happy to help anywhere I can.
Yeah, I know Lorraine said she was going to put out another press release. I think one went out end of June, and the deadline was kind of like right around the 4th of July week. So I think the timing might have been difficult. So I think some people might have thought they missed that deadline.
Okay.
And thought they were out of luck. So if she does another press release with an extended time, I'll reiterate that to people that told me that they were interested, so they can get their applications in. I know of a few that have been submitted and are waiting on interview dates. So
Okay. And are there any specific community Facebook pages or other email lists that we should send out the announcement through?
well, once I didn't share it on any pages because the timeline, like I said, was so short last time. But if you give it to me and it's, at least a week or two, I can share that with some folks. I shared it, directly with some individuals that are active in other pages. So, yeah, I think we can promote it a little bit more.
Okay. If you need any help, let me know, because I think it makes sense to put it out there on different channels.
Yep.
That the community is accustomed to visiting. Because they may not get the town blasts, right? They just may not get them.
Right.
So
this group would be meeting virtually as well, at least through the governor's declaration, right? So if I know of other folks, because I do know of folks who would be interested, but they live down the Cape or in Boston. So as long as the meetings and the interview would be virtual, would they be?
are they Scituate residents, Celia?
They don't
No,
need. to be
so
for
I
this
thought
meeting.
the
Yeah, they don't
committee,
have Scituate residents. Yeah.
yeah,
That's true. They don't need to be, but it would be nice if they were.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's probably, however everybody wants to meet, if it's virtual or hybrid, we still have that opportunity
Okay.
next spring. So whatever works to get the greatest amount of participation.
Okay.
Tom, are you talking? Because you're muted. I can see your mouth moving.
It's other business.
Okay, got it. I'm sorry, my video is not working. I do
No,
not
it's
know
okay.
what's going on, so I apologize, guys.
Now,
No
Maura,
worries.
I had a question on the sister city, because I know with the other ones, there are people in the existing sister cities that participate in the other sister city. So does the board select those individuals to participate? Or do you just allow, do you reach out to them?
Are they just helping out, Angela? Because I'll
No,
have to
they're on
go
they're
look
on
at
the
my committee book, because to my knowledge, I don't know of a great amount of crossover, other than is it just, assistance to help?
Well, I don't know if they're liaisons, but they're on the other sister city committees. So I don't know if they're, like, for example, there's individuals that are on the Irish sister city that are also on the French and vice versa,
Okay, well, why don't you
I can reach out to
share
them.
with me those names and I can sort of assess them, just taking a look at them. I don't know the answer from a general aspect, if you will.
Yeah, and I can reach out to them too and ask if those.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see here. One thing I was going to bring up, and this is another thing that I sent out an email this afternoon to a number of the committee members. And I don't know, I see Jean and Ruth. members of Stride. It's another thing that Jamil alerted me to was the open letter from the Unity Council. Does anyone know the origin of this? I'm just curious, like what prompted the open letter dated August 1st, 2022. And I will share my screen just because I'm looking at it right now, just so we can see what I'm talking about.
I can jump in with a little bit of info if you want me to, Tom. I helped write it, but
Yeah, that'd be great, Jane.
okay, great. So Katie Sutton of Social Unity Council was the one who wrote the first draft and put it out there. I actually missed the meeting where it was discussed, but I was told after the fact that at that meeting it was decided at that meeting to purposefully leave it vague because we don't want to give name recognition or publicity to white nationalist groups and white supremacist groups, which are, yeah, there's a lot of activity here in Massachusetts. I've heard that, I mean, I think it's primarily the Patriot Front, and I've heard that they are very active here in Massachusetts. Like Massachusetts is either second or third most level of activity.
The stuff that went on in Boston with the event in Jamaica Plain and so on.
Yeah, there's, you know, people are stickering, people are painting graffiti. Yeah, there's just a lot of unfortunate activity and recruitment, and I think people are seeing a lot of their propaganda around, even if it's just just stickers or posters put up, but we've had them here in Scituate, right? So it is happening all over the place, and unfortunately there's a lot more activity here in Massachusetts than you would expect. So that is
so there were Patriot Front stickers in Scituate.
Yeah, back, how far back was that, Ruth? That was several months
It was
ago.
a couple of months ago. I
Okay,
can't
I remember
when,
that.
but I do remember that. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right in front of town hall.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
On the electric box there or whatever it was. So I don't know if I don't think there has been any. Well, anyway, like I said, I'm sorry, I missed the meeting, so I don't have a lot of the details, but I think it's just generally their kind of their presence and the extent to which they are distributing their propaganda, and of course the fact that a lot of their propaganda, they try to mask their true intentions by talking about their patriotism and things like that. So for some people might not even know what it is, but for people who do know what it is, it's yeah, a dangerous
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
dangerous activities and dangerous and harmful activities.
No, I mean, it's great. That's great. It's great that you put that out. The other, and I think this happened since our last meeting as well. So I don't think I provided a link to this today. Maybe I did. Oh yeah, I did. Okay. Is the Pembroke letter. Do you guys see this now? Is that
Yeah.
still sharing correctly? Okay. So this was something that, and maybe we did discuss it a little bit.
You had emailed us about it, I think, Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we discussed it, but
And I thought we wanted our name on the letter too.
We
Like,
did. I was told
Yeah,
we really
no.
couldn't do that.
Without a
Oh,
meeting.
Tom,
you can
because
vote.
you didn't have an opportunity to meet, right? He could
Yeah.
write as the chair in his own opinion, but unless he had an opportunity to meet with you and have the full support of the committee, he couldn't write on behalf of the committee. So it gets a little tricky with open meeting laws and, you know, representing the appropriate, you know, opinions of particular boards. So in the future, that's kind of how you can handle things like that come out like at the last minute. you could always write something on behalf of your own opinion and say who you are, but that you're not necessarily representing the committee because you hadn't had a time to meet, which is unfortunate because it was a tight window.
Yeah, I mean, it all happened very fast. It all happened very fast for for Pembroke as well. I believe I have a good friend that I work with who is, you know, of the same thinking as us, and he's still talking about it. How, you know,
Are they
upset.
reconsidering, Tom?
I don't know. I haven't talked to him in a couple of weeks about it, but I could tell I was touching a nerve, and I went back to talking about work. But yeah, so
To jump in real quick, I attended the select board meeting in Pembroke when Katie read this letter, and there was a lot of people showed up and attended the meeting in support of this letter, in support of the DEI committee. I did not get any feeling whatsoever from the members of the select board that they were going to reconsider it at all. So
yeah, so I do think it was a 3-2 vote, right? But of the select board, but I think the three that voted to dissolve it, I want to say, are fairly recent electees.
unfortunately, one who voted to dissolve the committee was, I don't know if she was the former chair, but she is a re-elected incumbent, and she was the one who actually brought it up for a vote originally. So
Yeah, she flipped. Yeah,
somehow she flipped, and I don't think she feels. I don't think she was initiating having it dissolved, but she was convinced that her original idea to create it was a bad one, and she changed her vote. So,
right.
and the comments I have seen have been along the lines of, well, nobody's saying you can't have a DEI committee or equity issues. We just don't need it. There's no need for it at the municipal level. We don't need a town committee for it. So it's pretty sad.
Okay.
I just have a quick question on the other letter, the more general one. So is this something that we would want to be a part of? Because I guess understanding now you couldn't just sign it on our behalf, Tom, but did we want to, because we're not listed here, either?
It's a great question. I would love to be listed on here. Is this something then more where we could just vote to be added to this list? I think we would potentially
Well,
We
be.
can take it up under new
Discuss it
business.
separately.
Ruth is, better at all the rules than I am, unfortunately, but you can
Well, I think
probably
you would
take it
need
up
to
under new
apply.
business, Tom.
You need to apply to the South Shore Unity Council. There's a piece to that also. So there's a piece that Maura can say as far as, can we maybe send a liaison from our group to South Shore Unity Council? I don't know what being a part of South Shore Unity Council actually means. And can we be part of another council? That's the Maura question.
Well, can we just add our name to this list though, to the letter?
But to the Pembroke letter?
No,
Or
the
to
South
the-
Shore, the open letter dated August 1st.
I believe
mean,
these
you
are all
look
the
at-
members of South Shore Unity Council. Is that correct, Jean?
They are, it's a little bit loose. Many
Okay.
of those groups are, but when we have been drafting these letters, each time we sort of say like, oh, we're happy, we'll send it further afield. And, it's pretty, so the quick answer is you don't have to be an official member of South Shore Unity Council to sign one of their letters. They are typically looking for as many groups to sign as possible. So I'm sure that Katie would be happy to add Scituate DEI committee to this, or just have a response to it even, and acknowledging it, and maybe saying that that this committee is willing to kind of take it up and highlight it to the select board is another thing.
I think it's where, oh, Celia, sorry.
No, go ahead, Elena.
I was just gonna say, I feel like I think we would want to be amongst the other groups on this list in solidarity and for this letter or any future letters. And so, I mean, I'd be happy to explore it further if it is if it's more complex than it seems, where you can just maybe contact them. I see they have a contact email right at the bottom of their page. But I think it would be worth good company to be a part of when things like this happen.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I was gonna say too, we didn't have to join like the Hingham Unity Council to disseminate their survey, right, to the town, and the town disseminated it of Scituate. So that was even a higher level thing. So I don't see why this would be any different.
Okay. Well, if excuse me, if we're following the proper protocol, when we get to other business, unless somebody tells me I can't do this, I would like to vote on, at the very least, adding our committee's name to the open letter. Yeah, I'd like to be on their radar. And I think we would be one of the few groups, if not the only group on here, that is actually an official town committee, as opposed to just a pure, activist group. So I could be wrong on that, but okay. Thank you. All right. I mean, we are at
Tom,
public
really
count.
quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
Jean,
Sorry.
did you want to add something additionally to that?
I'm sorry.
I just saw Jean. I saw your lips moving. I wasn't sure if you wanted to add something else to that.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. I was just saying I'm 99% sure that Hull No Place for Hate is a municipal committee. So
Oh, is it? Okay.
yes, and anytime we have these letters, we kind of give the members and network of groups that we know the opportunity to either sign off on them or not. So depending on whatever level of whatever process each group has for being able to sign off on a letter. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, whether it's logistics or difficulty in getting approval, depending on the level of formality in approving a signature for something like this. So as far as Social Unity Council is concerned, I would think that they would be more than happy to have Scituate DEI committee sign off on it. So I think it's more a question of requirements from the town of Scituate side in terms of what's allowed and how, if the cycle works in terms of meetings and getting things approved officially.
Okay. Yep. Timing is everything with these things. Okay, great. Thanks. All right. So we are at public comment. We are going to launch into our two main topics as well. I mean, we'll lead it right off with our Indigenous Peoples Day and where we are with that, what that process is going to look like, and so on. Before we jump into that, Jean or Emma, any commentary you want to provide, or we're happy to have you just I'm happy to have you just chime right in with us as we kind of start talking about this.
Yeah, I mostly showed up because I just wanted to get the latest on kind of where it stood with the towns, to where it stood with the town and with the select board, and getting it on a warrant. So I mostly came to learn where we're at with it. But
Okay, great. So hopefully, Emma, go ahead. Sorry.
No worries. Yeah, I'm about the same. Just like for anyone who doesn't know me, like I'm a current rising senior at the high school. And so it's like, I want to make sure there's anything like if we need to do, I know we circulated a petition earlier to make sure that we had like student voices who are supporting this. So I'm sort of just here to learn and make sure if there's anything else I can do. So happy to be here.
Thank you so much. I'm sure there will be things that we're gonna have you do and help us, so, warning for you. But no, thanks so much. Thanks so much. All right, so, I mean, I'll give a brief, preamble, I guess, and then I will put more on the spot to speak a little bit. So this was the indigenous peoples, we had, just to recap, right? And hopefully I don't get all the terminology wrong, but we had submitted an article about 2 pages asking for it to be put on the warrant for special town meeting in September. We submitted that, I believe, on June 21st. It was certainly, a bit of a sprint, right? So given there's a lot of, toll gates, if you will, that we needed to get through, and trying to get something in front of town meeting is not something this committee had gone through. But we did quite a bit of research on this, had a lot of help from a little working group that we had put together to put that in front of Maura and the rest of the select board for discussion, to be followed by an opportunity for this committee, subset of this committee, and potentially others to go in front of the select board at a subsequent meeting. There are some timing challenges there. Right now, we are slated, I believe, and we'll have a spot on the agenda on August 9th, so a week from today. Anyways, it was discussed in the select board meeting a few weeks ago. I'm sorry, I don't have the date handy in front of me, but I want to say maybe July 14th. It was discussed at length, and it's been decided that it will not be on the warrant for special town meeting. There needs to be more time, more education, and maybe we jump the process a little bit. Did I capture that reasonably correct, Maura?
Yeah, I would agree. It was on the 12th. I think they felt that there needed to be more education on the topic, which, if you watched the meeting, I expressed that was forthcoming, just as any other warrant article was forthcoming. Their biggest issue was that really it's being sponsored by the select board, so to put it on the warrant without any prior knowledge to what it was a little unique in some people's opinion. So they want to delay and put it on the annual town meeting. They are still open, obviously, to being educated, and I think, I don't know if Lorraine's reached out to you for next week's meeting. Tom, are you on that agenda still? Is it the 9th?
I have not, I believe we are.
Do you want me to double check? Would you like to make sure you're on that agenda, or do you want to wait and
Definitely.
get until we're closer to annual town meeting?
I think we can kind of like jointly agree on that when we're done with this discussion.
Okay, and that's fine. So I do think you captured the essence of the pushback. I also think the language that we proposed, and that's my fault, because I was asked, what were we really looking for? And typically what has happened in the past is, we will share what the initiative is, and a small paragraph will be constructed as that motion to move. And that is not what happened. So this really is not a motion, right? This is the backup. This is the resolution that the committee is looking to get approved. So as we get to the next step, after we have the opportunity to present the position of the Committee on Indigenous Peoples' Day, we will make sure that the actual language is much simpler. Is the essence of it is captured appropriately. I think, they read very deeply into a lot of the resolution, and that's what pushed the pause button, and they wanted to discuss a lot of this with the committee.
Okay. Any commentary?
Also, I think one thing that we need to mention too is that I think I sent out information. I have been able to be in touch with Madeline Monroe rather sporadically, but one of the things she said is please take out the land acknowledgement, because that makes the issue a lot more difficult. So even from where we started, we needed to amend this to remove the land acknowledgement section, which I believe is number 4 in the whereases. And then the question for us also, Maura, is do we need a much more simplistic, again, maybe we don't need anything. I think I'd like that part out, but so that's not really even on the table as discussion. But is this language going to be appropriate for them? Do we need a simpler one? I've been working with some working group members on that. Maybe that's part of our discussion with the select board members. Or is that something we should be formulating in advance?
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Maybe all of the above. I mean, I think it depends on, what this committee, how we want to position this initiative. And if these words are true to your initiative, then I would stand firm behind them. If there is a simpler way to put it forth, maybe we consider that. So I would put that, unfortunately, back on the committee, because I don't want to speak for all of your independent opinions. This is a topic that can be approached in a variety of different ways, right? I loved the fact that in Cohasset, I heard that the 4th graders made the case for doing this, just from the mouths of babes as to, why this is an appropriate motion, if you will, to move forward. But I know you're looking to me to give you an answer to that, and I don't know, because I don't have an issue with this language. So
we could present a couple of options to them as part of our presentation also, if that's something, because I do have a shorter option that I've worked on, and this background information doesn't go away. But if it needs to,
I think that's what it is, right? So the whereas is really like the background information. And I think, with the resolution, how I understand it is, the resolution is what changes the day, if you will. So what Jim explained to me was the select board in itself can declare a day as XYZ day, right? But to your point, some people have brought up, well, then the next select board can, vote that down. So what's the longevity of that type of a solution? So we're looking for more than a resolution, right? We're looking to actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, change Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples' Day. And I know you will be asked from members of the committee, can another day be deemed Indigenous Peoples' Day? And I think the initiative is lost on folks that recommend that. So, and the reason why this is being put forward. So those are some of the arguments that I would anticipate coming forth. So I don't know. I think it's present what you are all comfortable and want to present, put it before the board, make our case, listen to what board members have to say, and then we have plenty of time to readjust, because the annual town meeting isn't until April, and I don't think this would need to be finalized until December, January timeframe. And you may look at that as a non-answer, but honestly, this is a very complicated topic for many.
Can I jump in and see if I can paraphrase what you just said, Maura, and
Sure.
ask for clarification? So what I heard from what you just said is that the proposal for a resolution, we can either leave it as is or simplify / tone it down if we feel like toning it down is what is required to get it passed. But regardless of like the actual content of the resolution, the whereas followed by the resolution, we also need to present a specific resolution, a specific motion that would be what would be the language that we would.
What we're actually asking to happen. Mhm.
Yeah, so the introductory language saying we move to pass this resolution, and then the resolution itself can either be something close to what we have here or a safer version of it if we think it needs to be a safer version of it. Is that
I think that's a good summary.
okay?
Can you guys see what I just shared?
Exactly. Yeah, that's nice to
Yes.
see, Tom, because I never have those around, and
Yeah, I don't either. I went
but it's
digging.
nice and it's short.
And I chose one that probably resonates with us because I remember being at this town meeting. I think this was in 2020.
So this is an example of what a motion is that then is voted on at the town
Ex-
meeting.
Correct.
Exactly. So that's why I wanted to show this. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but so it would be Article X, right? And it would say, whatever the language is, right? Replace Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day, whatever that language would be. That's it, right?
Mhm.
And then the question is, okay, to see if the town will vote to amend the town's general bylaws, so on and so forth.
Well,
with
I don't know that
language.
Columbus Day is in our bylaws, so we'll look at those semantics when we get closer.
Fine.
You know what I mean? I mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
bylaws are specifically to that document that exists.
I don't think I read over the bylaws and I didn't think anything in.
Yeah, I don't
Columbus.
think it's in there.
Forget I said bylaws.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just.
But the formal introduction to what people say there. So yes,
Right.
to see if the town
Yeah.
will do
Right.
something.
And we'll get that link. But the reason why I brought this up is so the non-bold text, okay, that's what we need to agree on. You know, do we go 2 pages or do we go a paragraph? Now, if we only go a paragraph, then it's going to be incumbent on, and I'm just kind of spitballing here, but then it's going to be incumbent on us ensuring that we have a lot of people to get up and go to the mic, if you know what
And
I'm
we
saying.
will also get space to the pros and cons of that, you know, that people can put on more. What is that called again? There's a book.
The advisory booklet.
The advisory booklet will have a space for us to add some supporting documentation.
Correct.
It's not pages and
Okay,
pages, but
beautiful.
you've got
That's
part of
what
the page to be able to
that's
do
where I
that.
was going. I
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
forgot about that piece.
Absolutely. So, and that's where you can provide your quote unquote backup and justification. And your
Like all this whole thing
historical
could be on
statement.
there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And the advisory board will vote yes or no to support it as well. So they will weigh in as well.
Tom, would you mind if I shared the brief option that
Absolutely.
I gave to you today? I think I can do that. Just a second. Let me share screen.
Yeah, I just stopped sharing my own.
Yeah, hold on a second. Blah, 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 blah. Just a minute.
So Ruth, while you do that, for my own ignorance and education here, there are 2 ways, right, to get something in the warrant, and that's one by having the advisory board endorse it, or 2, a citizen's petition. Is that correct, Maura?
No, So
right.
it's a either, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that so harshly.
No.
It's, the advisory board doesn't submit warrant articles, the select board does, the planning board does, or a citizen's petition can as well. Because the committees are appointed by the select board, it's really, so like when the CPC committee is a little bit different, but most other committees, so say the coastal advisory committee came forward with an initiative, just like you have here. It would be brought forth by them, but it would be quote unquote sponsored by the select board. So I think that's where the apprehension came, is that they hadn't been briefed on it prior to approving it even being on the warrant. What the advisory board is, Celia, is an independent board that evaluates the fiscal and fiduciary, that's what they're supposed to be evaluating, is the fiscal and fiduciary viability of all the articles that come forward.
That's helpful. Thank you, Maura.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see the option that I have out there?
Yes,
Is it on the screen?
I mean, I think so. Does it say option 2?
Yep.
I see it.
Okay, so this kind of, I worked with again, one of the people on our working committee to put this together to kind of encapsulate hitting that we wanted the second Monday in October, Indigenous Peoples Day rather than Columbus Day, and why we've got the Columbus negative issues, because if without that, there's kind of like, well, why would you do this? So I think that piece of has to be as part of it, and then instead choosing to celebrate the positivity, the positive parts of Indigenous peoples.
Well,
again,
I
this
was just
could
going to say that, do you spin it more from the positive aspect of celebrating Indigenous people?
But without the negative piece, you cannot justify not having Columbus Day. There's a
Right.
reason
But
not
do
to
you
have
flip the
Columbus
argument
Day.
and put the negative piece second? And it's all semantics. We don't have to decide it tonight. I'm just thinking different ways in which to present
I
it.
see what you're saying. Lead with the celebration,
Yes.
celebrating the resilience.
But it kind of leaves, well,
Probably a matter of like
Yeah.
opinion and perspective. So that's where it's like,
I like leaving with the positive rather than leaving with the negative. So again, it is kind of the way you look at it.
because not being like forthcoming about the negative, it's almost like hiding it.
Burying
And
the
that's
lead.
why we're changing it, because I mean, these are facts too, not matters of opinion. But whatever.
Okay.
And this doesn't have to be decided before your meeting next week. This is just all in preparation for after your meetings. I think really the initiative needs to be presented, the why, the facts that are really indisputable. And that is really, I think, what we need to focus on next week in front of the board. Not so much this language.
Right, more the education of why are we doing this at all?
Correct.
And come back with language, more specific language later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can we get Emma and or any other students to attend the select board meeting next week
was
and just
something-
give a brief report as to, okay, well, we had a petition, yeah, here's what I'm hearing. Here's what people are saying. Here's how many people signed our petition. There's strong student support for this.
That was one of the things Madeline Monroe suggested, is to have student speakers, that they're always very powerful and that they, I'm going to stop sharing. They help people see that there's a real cross community interest in these issues.
I would have to check my schedule just for timing, but I believe that if it's like later in the evening, I should be able to go. I'd be happy to.
Where do we, because it is the summer and students obviously aren't in school. I mean, I'm happy to do this next Tuesday, don't get me wrong, but does it make sense to wait until probably even October?
We, talking with Jenny Funkhauser, the coordinator for the coalition that Emma's a member of, she said that there would be a lot more chance for students to sign the petition that they have started signing, but because of summer, you don't get the response. And that there would be, you know, a more robust response from students once school is started. Emma, what's your view on that?
Yeah, I think it's probably true. It's just, it's a lot easier to get more kids if like that, especially if you're looking for numbers. It like, you know, once they're literally all in the same building, it's a lot easier to get that from them. I think I'm not quite sure like the type of student interest that like is necessary for this, right? Like
Well,
what
at
you
least-
guys would want.
At least
But like
more
you know,
people
whatever-
signing the, at least more people signing the petition, because currently, I don't know, it's 50 or 70, but
Mhm.
I think, you know, getting into the hundreds would be more compelling.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if like the timing, like if that like works better for you now, like if you wanted to get it done for this year and like you want that support earlier, like I'm fine with trying to coordinate that. But if you guys want like the more like the bigger numbers, it's probably going to be more effective to wait later in the year. I mean, even just
Yeah,
until
it's not going to get
July.
done this year, Emma.
No,
Yeah.
it's not September. Nope.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Then I think that, yeah, it's just, it's more practical, I think, to wait till school then to get that student support. It's just, it really is a numbers thing.
In October, it might be, I'm zeroing in on October because it, for obvious reasons, it just might be timely. People
Well,
are
it's
gonna
after
be
the
talking
town
about it.
meeting too, so that people's minds are a little clearer.
Oh, yeah. That I was thinking of special town meeting as well. I mean,
The special town meeting, yeah.
actually, I should have asked this, and I've been looking for it and Googling and reading articles in the Globe. I'm guessing that the statewide move did not make it into the legislative session that went until 4:00 in the morning on August 1st. Does
That's it,
anyone have
because I've
any?
heard nothing. I'm assuming that, I think it would have posted on social media today if it had gone. So I'm assuming they just let it die,
Okay.
legislature.
Well, I would argue that this is a topic that'll take more than one meeting to socialize. So I would say, you know, tee it up next week. And also come back in October when we've got student support, or look at that angle as well, bringing some students to speak, or whatnot, and to continue to, you know, push the issue forward. That would be my recommendation. But I understand it's summer and
Yeah, I'm good with that. I mean, so my thought, if we go that tact, is that we'll have, you know, a smaller subset of the team, let's say, for next Tuesday. And you guys tell me if I'm crazy, but, and then bring the students in October and potentially others. The meeting next week could be more like an introductory. This is coming. This is what we're thinking. This is why we want to do it. You know, pretty high level. Is that fair, Maura?
yeah, I'm just waiting to hear from others. I think that is a good strategy.
I think that makes sense. I think it gives us more time to give the board more opportunities for education as well.
I agree too.
I agree with that proposal.
Okay. All right. then we'll keep it. And Ruth, you and I can take it offline as far as who is gonna come next Tuesday. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you. Anything else on this topic?
Nope, just thank you all
Okay.
and sorry it got delayed.
No, it's quite all right. Thank you for fighting for us, as always. All right, so the next topic that I wanted to jump into for a bit is the potential, and you know, there's a lot to this, and we've got a couple of meetings actually set up this week. Celia, Elena, and myself is hybrid meetings. Okay, so Cohasset recently did it. I think I circulated something on that. Also shared a Boston Globe article that was actually written by the editorial board of the Globe, I think yesterday.
Unfortunately, I can't read those, Tom, because I'm not a subscriber to the Boston Globe, so I'm that I can't see it.
So if I ever do that, just hit me back and I will PDF it and send it to you.
Yeah.
So.
Because
Anyways,
that might be something you want to PDF. We want to start a kind of a document library. Again, for similarly
Not a bad
for
idea.
education as we move forward, because people are going to say, well, you can't do that. And you say, oh, yes, you can. And here's this says how they did it.
Yeah. Yep. So the main, and I'll ask Celia to jump in, but you know, we do view this as an equity issue. You know, obviously town meeting, for those of us that have, I don't need to tell more obviously, but for those of us that have been to multiple town meetings, it's a commitment, which I'm not faulting the commitment aspect of it, but I guess it's more that it's difficult for certain people to be able to attend town meeting in person. It could be, you know, single parents, could be younger parents, right? With young kids. We've got a few of those on our committee, and it's just very, very difficult to get a proper representation of the town at town meeting, which is an absolutely vital aspect of our democratic process, right? So I'm going to stop talking. Celia?
Yeah, I would just add that it's also an equity issue because of representation and democracy. So I'm still pulling the numbers, but I saw, for example, in 2020, when one of the town meetings was outside on the field, there were about 275 people who attended. In comparison, for the last election for the school committee, there were over 3,000 people that voted. And so that's what we're leaving on the table by not making it more accessible. And there's research, and I'm happy to share this with the whole group, Ruth, because we have started to pull together the articles and research. But Boston University research has studied countless town meetings, specifically now because there are issues around housing. And the vast majority of those people who attend annual town meetings in person are over the age of 65, white and male, and homeowners. And so that takes away an entire demographic of folks from voicing their opinions. I know I've lived in town 7 years and I've not been to one because of my schedule and not being able to commute from Boston here, taking care of my kids, etc. It's also about creating barriers to entry. So if my child, like, you can't say, oh, we'll provide babysitting on site, because A, I'm not trusting my child with a babysitter on site. And if town meeting goes until midnight, my child goes to bed at 7 p.m. That's like a quarter of the way through town meeting, right? Also, there are people who work night shift, hospitality workers, hourly, etc. So vast reasoning for it and vast evidence as well. We also started a list of towns, not just Cohasset, but who did theirs through a citizen's petition, but Peabody, Yarmouth, and their chair of the select board, Mark Forrest, is willing to speak with us, even in front of the committee if we wanted to. Just going through the list here and we'll send this out, sorry. Franklin, Newton, just to start, and there are others. So we're considering a number of questions to start, as Tom said. Sorry, I'm just reading the screen. We're starting with a meeting this Friday with one of the citizens of Cohasset, who is a part of that citizens petition, just to get their perspective on how it all happened. And really what the language was in Cohasset, or what the recommendation would be here. I'm not making the recommendation, I'm just repeating what it was in Cohasset, and what I would suggest. It would be that the town of Scituate implement remote participation at town meeting for residents of Scituate, which remote participation shall include 1, listening, 2, viewing, and 3, voting. So the voting is the critical component of that. And I think when it happened to, and it may have been Cohasset, that first part was struck down, and then they had to go back again with an amendment to include voting. So that's just something that we need to be prepared to do if we ever get to that process. So we started a list of questions and things to consider as we have these meetings, and I welcome your feedback here. So I'm just going to quickly go through some things, because there's a spectrum of what can we change to the current structure as it is now in person, and what is the ideal form. So even with it now, so accommodations to the current structures, what do they need to be? You know, is it advertising and providing ample and accessible free childcare? Is it providing accessible and free transportation? Is it working with the moderator and reviewing their role? Does the moderator receive DEI training, for example, not just facilitation training? I know we talked with Bob about training for all town employees, but about folks that are appointed like or voted in like the town moderator. Are they enforcing speaking limits at town meeting? Other questions, sorry, I'm just going through these quickly. You know, who would moderate? I know, Tom, you spoke about with the school committee, Seth has played that role online while the chair facilitates the in-person portion of it. What's the town's current IT budget? What's the FY23 IT budget? In the research we've done so far, Newton spent $200,000 to update their IT system. Franklin spent $20,000. So there's a whole range of costs. So what does it take to outfit like this, the gymnasium, or, you know, other meeting rooms? And I will say that in the research we've conducted so far, a lot of the pushback has been, oh, it costs too much, like to make, it's like, first of all, if we get one more vote, the democracy is worth it. But second of all, if we have to update the physical infrastructure of buildings anyway, like we're in the 21st century, we should be updating the IT. So as a part of our role, we can make recommendations to the town's budget. And so if we can, you know, work with you, oh, lovely Seth, to figure out, you know, what could that look like, you know, what is needed reasonably. That's one of the questions we have. And then are there any state funds or grants available for the town to apply to for this reason? I think the state had stopped short of making this law, but I'm sure there are still other grants that we could use for this. Other things to consider are data on voter participation and measuring progress. Like I mentioned at the beginning, the 275 number compared to over 3,000. But what has participation been in the last, you know, X number of town meetings? And not that we need this for the annual meeting, but do we have a goal? You know, if the average participation, let's say, is 300 people, would we tell critics it was a success if we had 400 people? Like, what does that look like to show? And we know from the data and the Globe articles and countless others that when the pandemic hit and all town government went remote, participation shot up through the roof. People who had never been to select board meetings, et cetera, suddenly were attending. So the proof is there already. So if we need to measure it, we can put those metrics in place. And then other questions we have are, you know, we have the BU study of course, about who typically attends town meetings, but for Scituate specifically, is there demographic data on the current turnout by age, race, length of residency, home ownership status, precinct, profession, et cetera? So we would need to pull, if available, I don't know, that data and then compare it to other elections. So that's where we are. We have a whole list of people who we want to speak with. I've done my homework, we're ready to go. And we'll share this document with the committee.
Wow.
Bravo.
That is
Very well
excellent.
thought, very well thought
You've
out.
done a ton of work.
I would not want to go up against you at your day job. For
Oh,
something.
they don't. No, they don't. No.
So I have a question. So just so you understand the difference, so we never want to do this as a petitioner's article, right? Because really petitioners can't compel the executive branch to do anything. You can suggest, you can recommend, but you can't compel them. So if that's how Cohasset did, oh yeah, they were successful in passing it as a petitioner's article, but then what is the likelihood that it's actually going to be implemented and enacted? So we want to go down this in the right way in which it actually happens, right? So a couple things I'm just going to make note and then I'll be quiet because it's your meeting. But number one, you can get a lot of the information and I can tee up Kathy Gardner from the town clerk to provide I don't know if she has demographics. I mean, obviously she knows who attends town meetings. Not really sure that our data drills down to their age, sex, and but I don't know. So we can double check that. Number two, Seth is a member of the cable committee. Sorry, Seth, which probably has taken a little bit more of a dormant role in the last 3 years because Seth has really been working very hard to cover all of these hybrid meetings. But the cable committee is also an existing committee of IT and Seth and some folks who have been looking at, elevating our communication, our, outward reach to our citizens. So they would be a good resource. And yes, the last thing in the legislature was voted down because it was a quote unquote unfunded mandate. So nobody likes those, right? When the state tells us what we have to do, but they don't tell us where the money is going to come from to support that initiative, which I agree with. Those things drive us all crazy. And they place an incredible amount of burden on towns and cities when people sitting in a room decide that somebody has to do something, but they're not going to tell them where the resources to pay for such action is going to come from. Yeah, so I'd love to see it happen. I think it's going to be a long haul. It's a lot of work, which is great, and I know everybody's up to it. But I don't think it's as easy as just doing a petitioner's article and making it happen. I want to make sure that we do it right.
No, I agree with that. I mentioned Cohasset as an example, but I know we wanted to talk, I think it was again with Yarmouth, because that came through their select board actually. So they did it the opposite way. And I think that, to your point, Maura, that would be the better way to go. And I think the other part about funding too, so in Newton with their $200,000 cost, I read that money, I'm sorry, I'm just reading. The money came from franchise fees collected from cable providers such as Verizon and Comcast. So there are options. We'll have to obviously look into that, but you're right, meeting with Seth and that group would be helpful. So if we can identify them.
And I'd love to know what Newton exactly is doing. So I mean, I'd be happy to go meet with them too. If they're the poster child of this and they're actually making it happen. I don't know what type of government they have. If it's just open town meeting like ours, is it representative town meeting? Is Newton, is there a mayor?
Newton's a city, there's a mayor.
Yeah, it's a city. So that changes everything, Celia.
Yeah.
So we got to be careful, when we're comparing forms of government with one another. And there's Seth, there's Oz, the whiz.
And just so you know, if you go back, if you chat with the moderator, this really isn't necessarily a town decision, it's a state decision as far as I believe, as Celia, I think you pointed out on. So this is good, and I can help to a certain point. We can discuss more, but I think our limitations wise for just the town itself can be little tricky there, little tricky.
Okay.
Question, Seth. If we, for instance, some of this, like, I really like the way Celia talked about, if we if we're thinking about this, that we're thinking really of changing things up. We currently do our town meeting in the high school gym, which is very uncomfortable and the acoustics are horrible. If we started thinking about online and then maybe not thinking that, oh, we're having a bajillion people coming, what about moving it to the Performing Arts Center? Comfortable. My guess is that with the school's IT, things could be upgraded a lot easier there and dealt with there compared to doing it in the gym. I mean, really thinking that what we've done isn't what we're really going to continue to do necessarily exactly how it's happened, but instead make our spaces work for us.
No,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. In fact, I've already met with our facilities director, Kevin Kelly, regarding trying to create sort of a hybrid space in that Performing Arts Center. And you're absolutely right. I mean, if we made town meetings, if we offered the hybrid model, forget it. Like no one would. The numbers of people that would show up would dramatically plunge. So
Right.
So, but yes, you're absolutely, I mean, we certainly are looking at other options, assuming something of this magnitude moves forward.
Great.
Are there any other questions you all would have, or like, please, like, feel free to poke holes in it too while we're doing the research, because more like you made a great point. I was just pulling comps, not realizing like the different municipalities and structures of government, just whoever had it in place. So we can go back and strip the list of all the cities.
Well,
It's
more
still
is
worth,
interesting-
it's still worth knowing. I mean,
Yeah.
given, I mean, I know Newton, I'm sure, has tons of resources, but you know, how it got through is one thing, how they ended up doing it's another, right? And they're both useful.
Well, again, more, is this something that we would go to the select board for, just as we're talking about with the IP day, and have it go through that way?
Absolutely.
See, so we could end up with two things going forward.
And this is something that, you know, is highly desirable. You know, folks are very frustrated and it's not an easy one to tackle, but it's absolutely necessary to tackle.
Do you know any other group working on this, Maura? I mean, Seth has mentioned that they've had discussions, so Celia wants to definitely touch base with them. Any other
Well,
group?
there's an initiative out there. So, you know, we've got the Charter Review Committee. And then there's another citizen, which Karen Canfield led with an official committee, which they're pretty much done. And then the recommendation is going to be to get to that next level to form a bylaw review committee, which maybe this is where this would fold into. Not sure, I would just need to double check on that. And there is another citizen committee out there that is looking to change the form of government, right? From annual town meeting to representative town meeting.
That's right.
So there is a group out there that's embarking on that as well. I'm not engaged with them. I don't really know exactly who they are. But I have heard and seen petitions from them. Does everybody know what the difference is between representative town meeting and just, you know, regular town meeting? Okay, so that's good. So at any rate, all things to be considered, especially as we move forward to change and improve, you know, access and participation. They should probably all be working in aligned with one another, right? In the best world. So if we're able to do some sort of a subcommittee to take a look at this, we would want to probably engage some of those other stakeholders. I'm just a believer of bringing everybody in at the beginning instead of trying to work through different hurdles at the end.
Absolutely. Okay, great. So there's plenty more to come on that topic. Well, on both of these topics, certainly. All right. I don't want to shortchange anything else. I know we're already at an hour 10. Does anyone have any other business that I am going to revisit the Unity Council in a second, but does anybody else have any other business that they would like to bring up? Anything at all? Okay. All right. So yeah, I said I was going to just kind of push this down towards the bottom of the agenda. So, and again, tell me if I'm doing this the wrong way, but I would like for our committee to have the ability, for example, to be, provided that we have the proper forum and we meet to talk about it, to be added to, doesn't have to be just the South Shore Unity Council, but in this case, I would like to see Scituate Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee on the open letter that was published on August 1st. And provided that we all agree on that, I can go ahead, if that's appropriate, I can go ahead and reach out to the head of the Unity Council to get that done. So I'm assuming I will just move that to a vote.
Right, so
do I have a
So right
second?
now, the, can I clarify, because I've got to make sure my minutes have it correct?
Yeah,
Really, it's the S, sorry, I'm about to sneeze. Or cough or something. Just a minute.
no worries. Take your time.
Sorry, it comes right when I'm about to talk. The SDIC wants to have its name on the open letter, South Shore Unity Council of August 1.
Correct.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so I'd like to move that to a vote. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Ms. Yassine,
Yes.
Ms. Dre,
Yes.
Ms. Risha,
Yes.
Ms. Galata,
Yes.
and Ms. Swope.
Yeah.
And I am a yes. Okay. All right. So that's all I had for other business. We got plenty of things coming up between the select board meeting on Tuesday, Heritage Days with Cape Verdean music on, Angela, tell us when it is.
On Sunday at 1 o'clock.
Sunday at 1 o'clock. Okay, awesome. As far as future meeting dates, so I know we pushed 2 weeks. We do have August 16th still on the calendar. I can meet. Do we want to meet in 2 weeks?
Tom, I'd suggest that we might want to debrief after the 9th meeting. It doesn't have to be a long one if we don't need it.
Yeah, okay. So we'll, to the best of my ability, I'll send out an abridged agenda and, hopefully we can get a quorum for that. So let's go ahead and keep that.
Tom, can we get for the 16th, can we get an update on our signing project? And I can do that if you'd like. I just don't know if anybody's in touch with anyone on the implementation of all the signage that we had evaluated. And I'm happy to run with that. I'd love to get an update.
Because again, Bob was not here today, and he might know some of that. So hopefully he'll be back on the 16th.
Do you want me to reach out to Bob, Tom?
That would be great, Maura, if you could.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're going to keep that meeting, and then the rest of it you can see here, right? So September 13th, October 11th, November 15th, December 13th. Okay, all right. Okay, so if there is nothing else, I will move to adjourn and close the meeting. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Call the roll. Ms. Yassine,
Yes.
Ms. Dre,
Yes.
Ms. Risha,
Yes.
Ms. Galata.
Yes.
Thanks, Jean. And Ms. Swope.
Yeah.
And I'm a yes. So with that, I will adjourn the meeting at 7:45 PM.